Okay. The last couple times I've opened up to start recording, I've seen a beautiful orb right before I'm about to start. And I love it. It's so beautiful. And I think many people have noticed there's orbs in almost every one of the videos I've recorded. Um, so they end up showing up anyhow. But the ones that right at the beginning are like so clear and right in front of me. I'm like, oh, darn, I wish I just recorded that. Um, anyhow, okay. Oh my goodness. My screensaver is a whole ton of beautiful hot air balloons floating in the sky, which is linked. It's a sign and synchronicity for me of the story that I was planning to tell in this recording. So I'm going to take a little snapshot of that and I'll put it at the end of this video so you can see what it is that I just looked up to notice as confirmation of this. Beautiful. Okay, so I have had some conversations in some of my sessions with clients that is pulling together the some of the last videos that I've posted that are sharing my journey of spiritual awakening or rediscovering and strengthening that ability to communicate with spirit and recognizing when I'm being communicated with and what I'm receiving. And so I want to share some of that, some of the gold that came out of those conversations, pulling it together a little bit more. And it's just beautiful. So this is happening organically and connected to these people seeking out developing their sense of understanding and intuition a little bit more as well. So one of the people I've been working with for several months now, and every time this person comes in, there is channeled information, mediumship from his loved one. His partner passed over a year ago now. So he originally sought out working with me through clinical practice with grief work. And there's sprinkles of mediumship and channeled messages that come through every single time. For example, one of the one of these signs is always about flowers, of the flowers that are changed out in the house every couple of weeks. Um, we get some confirmation around that, what color the flowers are, et cetera, just validation. There's been a million different messages and pieces of validation that he knows and he doesn't question. He knows he's getting communicated with, right? So now he's at the point of I know that there is life after death and my person is around me still, and I'm getting so much validation. Messages that will be shared with him are then confirmed in 7 different signs and synchronicities that happen outside of our sessions, in between sessions, right? So he, is getting curious about how this happens, how this communication happens, and starting to recognize his ability to communicate with his partner directly, right? Saying little things of, I kind of hear her voice in my mind in this way. And having a little bit of like, I think I might be communicating, but also when people say that, I hear the words that my so and so would have said to me echo through me, and these parts of them live on in me, right? There's a little dissonance with that, where there are separation, where they're not viewing it as literally the energy of this person in real time is communicating with me. It's more like I hear the voice in my head through memory, right? And so as we're strengthening that, I explained this to him. When the way that I learned to communicate with spirit and started to realize what was happening for me in this psychic mediumship, these abilities, this receptivity and open channels, and how to open those further is through the foreign nature of it, the randomness. That randomness that I started to notice about 7 years ago when I first began to receive little tidbits of things in my meditation was key. It needed to feel random like that. That's how I recognized something that wasn't solely just coming from inside of me, right? That doesn't make sense. Why that random word that I don't think I would have thought of, right? And that comes through in the mediumship and the channeling when I'm with people. I start to feel a very tingly sensation, almost like when somebody is singing so beautifully that you get the chill bumps all over your arms. It's like that a little bit. It's a combination of that mixed with a static electricity type of energy, and that tingly sensation begins at the crown of my head. The first time I ever felt that sensation was after I had already been meditating and receiving those little tidbits for a couple of, maybe almost 2 years before I ever had any sensation of energy strongly, like that tingly feeling. And the very first time I felt that tingling on the top of my crown was when I joined the discovery call for that Reiki Masters program. And I felt it immediately and I thought, oh my goodness, this is amazing. What is this feeling? And I just intuitively knew, like, confirmation, I need to do this. I need to invest the money in this and the time in this and take this Reiki program. And since then, I feel it as a sign of validation very, very often. And not only just validation, but just a sign of receiving, or how else do I want to say that? An incoming message. I'll get it before I'm even receiving a message, like, ooh, I'm starting to feel like knock, knock, knock from spirit, if you will. So the foreignness, the seemingly randomness of it is what helped me to wake up to a greater level of awareness of what I already was capable of and had been receiving, but hadn't been recognizing in terms of my own communication with my people, right? Because those memories that I have with them are, sorry, I'm just seeing like a little sparkle and it distracted me. The memories that I have with them are my memories. So it's hard for me to distinguish from the inside or outside of that, right? But for other people, when I'm in front of them, I start to get that tingly sensation. I'm feeling the energy of this, this, and this. I'm getting something really strong about, like doves or waterfalls or blue ribbons or whatever it is. And those are not important things to me in my own memories. And that's a piece of how I'm able to so perceive the distinct and separate energy from me that is communicating with me. This is not, oh, so weird. I randomly started thinking about blue ribbons when I was talking to this person. Isn't that weird? My mind's so distractible or whatever. No, this is communication. So then I'll say, all right, do you have a grandma who passed who you're really close with? Something's coming through for me about doves, waterfalls, and blue ribbons. Does any of that make sense? And then the person immediately starts to tear up and light up and like knows exactly what this means in terms of the memories connected and the messaging that they need to hear in this moment, right? So it's that foreignness that separates it. And so I'll say this to you. Well, I'll explain more. So I was saying to this person, my grandpa passed when I was 10 years old, and he has been communicating with me from spirit and since he passed, right? Ever, forever. There's been no gap in communication. I'll say that. And um, my, there's a lot of little things that happened when I was younger where I'd go to lay down at nighttime. It's quiet, and all these three different toys or sentimental items that were given to me by my grandpa that never worked during the day. They would have like these battery operated things where they giggle, like a giggle bear, or a little Barbie doll, like a playhouse, a dollhouse that had a dresser with a heart button. You press the heart button, it plays this sweet little song. And those things stopped working eons ago. And yet, when I would lay down at nighttime and it would be the quiet moment right before falling asleep, there goes that little song. And we had bunk beds at the time, and my sister would be spending the night occasionally, and it happened often when she was over too, which was really nice because it's just fun to have that validation, that shared memory of, do you remember when this happened and that dresser used to go off, especially at this point in our life. She said, absolutely, like there's no way, we just knew, right? So yeah, amazing. Anyhow, we were kids, and so that would happen and we would be amazed by it, but then we'd fall asleep, and the next day we're like in presence, in mindfulness, we're playing, we're doing this stuff, not even thinking about it, right? Not saying much about it, and continuing to live our lives. But I said to this person who's asking and trying to discern, how does that communication feel, and is he communicating with her, and how can he strengthen that, right? Because I'm saying to him, she is with you, not me, right? I'm tuned into that energy, and so I'm communicating with her for you, but she walks in with you, right? She leaves my office with you. Like, she is with you. You are capable, like that energy is with you. You're not leaving her when you leave my office, right? And then, like, I can't wait to be able to connect with my wife again next week when I go in to see Miranda. No, she's with you, right? And he's starting to notice that he's got so many validating messages coming through every week since he's seen me over the last several months, that he can open his mind to it in a different way. So I'm explaining, my grandpa was communicating with me since I was 10, and I didn't recognize that. If you said, Miranda, do you speak with your grandpa from spirit, right? I would not have said yes to that. But what I did know is, at one point in time, as I got older and as I've become able to do this for other people, I mean, even still, like 7 years ago when I started having the spiritual awakening, at that point, I still did not fully realize that I was communicating with my own person, with my grandpa. I didn't, to that level, because it was so entangled with me. I couldn't discern the difference between that communication with my grandpa versus myself, my inner thoughts, and my own shared memories, right? Made it feel a little bit more confusing. So here I am channeling messages and giving, mediumship sessions to people, at least 5 different people a day over the last year. And, with accuracy and validation that is just changing people's lives and very meaningful. And I'm not able to, at the time, fully do that for myself with my loved one, because I was missing the messaging through the lack of the foreignness, right? Like I said, the randomness and the foreignness. I'm recognizing this energy doesn't belong to me. I'm recognizing these memories don't belong to me, and they're coming through very clear and strong. Like, this is something, and that makes it easy for me to channel messages for other people. So eventually I started to recognize Boy, isn't it interesting that I have literally not had a single day pass by since my grandpa passed when I was 10 years old, which is what, like 25 years ago at this point. It's been 25 years that I feel like the woman from the Titanic. It's been 85 years. It's been 25 years since he passed, and every single day over those 25 years I have thought of my grandpa, and I reflected on that. Isn't that interesting that I would think about him every single day? And at some point, I started to be able to make the link through other signs and synchronicities, validations, receiving my own psychic mediumship readings, sitting for those and receiving them with some of my friends and paid sessions, etc. As I'm walking through this journey and realizing what's going on, that it took me that amount of time to realize, I'm communicating with him. I'm not just having, like, every single day I have a random memory of my grandpa, or I have a random thought of my grandpa, or I'll say like, oh, my grandpa would be really proud if he were here to see this right now, like, or remember that time when you did this, you have that kind of strength in you still right now, right? It's like, whoa, you've been talking to him, you've been communicating with him every day since he passed, and this was all meant to happen, and my lack of awareness of it was meant to happen too, so that I can help other people understand how to tap into those gifts and how to give them validation and actually recognize them and tune into them a little stronger. There's almost this sense of that, I want to say, in some ways it's easier to channel something for somebody else than it is to receive for yourself, because the subtleness the subtleness of that energy feels so connected to you, right? That, like, quantum entanglement, that this energy cannot be separated from you. So it's hard to discern what's coming from within versus what you're receiving. But once you start to practice and tune into that, you can play with it, you can engage in it. I've also had people say to me who I know can channel, who have delivered messages and engaged in mediumship readings and delivered messages to me from my grandpa that I know are on point. And I've said, hey, you're channeling. And they, when they start realizing that they can do that, there's a sense of like, amazing. And then it's a little paralyzing in a certain way. And what I mean by that is they will, like, wait to receive. Okay, I know I can receive. I figured that out. And then they're real quiet, waiting to receive. Once you get the link, like on the telephone, if my friend is calling and I pick up the phone and say like, hello, and they say hello, and then I say nothing, and they say, Miranda, are you there? And I'm like, I heard it. And I'm waiting for the next thing. Right? It's like the other person on the end of the line is going to be like, excuse me, once you are on the link with somebody, even in spirit like that, once you've got that connection, you realize you have that connection, you don't need to be quiet to just receive. You can engage. That can be a two-way street. Open up that communication, right? I've got my grandpa on the line. I just heard him say this to me about after the storm, and even in the rain, there's beauty and there's recognition of what you've accomplished while you have trickles of water running down your cheeks from the rain, right? And there's many layers around that, in terms of memories I have with my grandpa. But once I have that message from him, I can say, Grandpa, that lights me up. I love that. I received your message from that. Thank you so much for being with me. And I'd really love to see, dimes in the next week as just sweet little gifts from you, confirming this message that I just received from you today, right? Or when I am channeling for other people and I start to get that link of message, hey, remember that time we did this and that? And then I say, do you have a memory like this? And the person says, yes, I do. 100%. You've got, like, they know I'm talking to their person. Then I will open up the link. I'll say, I'll invite in more. I'll say to spirit, right, to the person I've got on the link, what else do you want this person to know? Is there anything else? And then I'll wait for a minute to have it come through. Or energy is kind of similar sometimes to what the person was like in their human form. So there are spirits who I connect with who it's like boom, 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 the information comes through like an open tap, right? And it's easier. And then there's other times where if the person was a little bit more laid back, a little more passive, that's a part of the confirmation too. I'll say, "Ooh, this energy feels this way. It's a little more passive. It's a little more like, I don't like the attention on me." And they're like, "Yep, that's how that person was." So that itself, that energy read, is a part of needing the messaging, right, that you need to share with the person who's receiving. So somebody who's a little more laid back like that energetically, I'll have to communicate more with them on the spiritual phone to pull in more. And so I'll say, can you give me one more important memory from your time with this person, because I think they need to have more validation that it's you. They seem a little right. So then I'll get another piece. And then I'll say, tell me something you know about their life currently since you've passed, so that they know that you walk with them still. And then I'll receive whatever it is that they're saying about that. So as I'm explaining to this individual, it is so subtle. And so I know your wife, I know she's telling me like she's communicating with you daily. There's not a day since she's passed that she hasn't been communicating with you directly. It is just difficult for you to recognize what that is. And it's easier for me because it's outside of me more than it is outside of you, right? So I can recognize that and it's helpful to communicate to you. And then I immediately started seeing this thing that kind of seemed like a kite in my mind's eye. But I knew, but I'm like, nope, it's not a kite. So I said to him, okay, so I'm getting messages for you to pull this forward a little bit more and confirm what we're talking about. Do you have an important memory with her around parasailing? And he goes, yes, I do. There's one specific time that included parasailing. Here's the details of the memory, 100% on point. I say, yes. And it's not just that memory that she's bringing up. What needing to ask you is, when was the last time that that memory about the parasailing incident popped into your mind? And he says, like 3 days ago. I say, ding, ding, ding. Okay. So she's telling you 3 days ago when that memory popped into your mind, you didn't randomly remember that memory. She was communicating with you on that day. And that is very similar to how she communicates to me about that memory. I solely am able to recognize it for what it is instead of mislabeling it as a random memory that popped up into my conscious awareness, right? And a very similar thing happened with one of my other people who happened in the same week to ask me a very similar question, like, how are you able to do this and how are you recognizing? And just, I think the more and more people get repeated confirmations and messages from their loved ones in our sessions, it opens up this curiosity for them of wanting to know more, which it's meant to, because it's not for them to learn more about me. It's for them to lean into their own gifts more, because like I said, it's there. This energy and your loved ones, they are coming with you. They're not meeting you at your once a year psychic mediumship session that you are paying for. No. Um, so she's asked me a very similar question and a very similar thread of communication here, of me explaining I've been speaking to my grandpa for years and years and years and not able to recognize that for what it was until I started giving readings to other people, and also then receiving readings for myself. And one of the things energetically that was helpful for me, because even now, the exchanges between my grandpa and myself that happen every single day, they feel so natural and like a part of me that has just always been there that I've never lost, which is beautiful. And it also is like breathing. You know what I mean? Um, so there, I do have moments where like I can slip into thinking that I'm thinking that instead of that, and instead of knowing that I'm receiving that, and that there's an energetic connection there and a continuation of my relationship with him that's happening all the time. And so I received a reading from somebody where they were linking together. There's a sensation of like a warm hand on your back connected to your grandpa's energy. And I had not been too attuned to that or noticed it until they had said it in that moment. And then I could feel like that similar warm, tingly sensation that comes down the crown of my the crown chakra when I am getting messages and I'm feeling that I'm connected in. And if I hit something on point, I got the message across the way that spirit intended, boom, I'll get a wave of it. And I'm like, whoop, okay, that's on point. That's message is accurate delivery of it, right? So I start to get that warm feeling on my back as this person is helping to bring that to my awareness. And now that helps tremendously with my connection of receiving my own stuff, because it does feel so like myself when I'm connecting with him. But now I get this very warm and tingly sensation on my back almost every single time I'm getting that connection with him, which is helpful because it's like his energy imprint and way of helping me to be just more in tune to recognizing him, which I love. So I'm explaining all of this to her, and I say, so I'm getting her mom on the line. I'm like, okay, so when it comes to mom, she's telling me something about banana bread. And she goes, oh, my mom has this banana bread recipe that I have of hers. She made the best banana. That's like very specific. I've got her recipe. It's a noteworthy thing. I say, okay, so this is not just about her saying like, oh, remember the banana bread. I'm asking you, when is the last time that your mom's banana bread recipe popped into your mind? 3 days ago. I said, okay. She goes, but I didn't make it, but I thought about making it on the day. I'm saying, it's okay. It doesn't matter that you didn't make it. The point is what's happening internally there of you 3 days ago thinking about your mom's banana bread recipe is communication. She is talking to you in that moment. And that's what she's saying to me right now to tell you. So you're starting to be more attuned to recognizing when you are directly receiving. And that is a major part of my intentionality, and a piece of what lights me up in doing this work is that type of not just psychological but spiritual, mental, emotional, all together healing that happens when you start to tune into the light within and rise up into your own ability to receive and to be led and guided, so that you can live in a way that is self honoring and that is in attunement and just elevating up to your highest path. My intention is not for you to see me and go, whoa, Miranda's amazing. Look what she can do. My intention is for you to get to a point where you go, I don't need to see you anymore, Miranda. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for helping me to recognize that what is within you is mirrored within me. And I have the same capabilities to connect with the people. And I don't even want to say same capabilities. Once you tune into that energy, you should have a greater level of capability than me to tune into your loved one. That energy is entangled with you like that. So while it makes it difficult or like nuanced rather than difficult, while that makes it very nuanced and subtle to tune into to begin with, once you are able to do that, your link with your mom, with your dad, with your grandma, whoever it is, with your dog, I'm feeling called to say that, like with your fur baby. So for whoever is tuning in who has that scenario that's coming in your mind, um, they're yours. They're yours. They're not mine. Okay, I had a little pause there to do a session, and my person I just saw had beautiful messages coming through from mom, and this is a grown woman, but the messages, some of them were about childhood, and I said, "Did you used to wear a silky ribbon in your hair a lot when you were a little girl?" She said, "Yeah, my mom would put a ribbon in my hair like every day. There was always this assortment of ribbons." And I said, "I'm specifically seeing light blue." And she was able to confirm, like, mom said something specific about light blue and she would put that in my hair, right? So just beautiful confirmation, because earlier when I was recording this, one of the messages that I said was a silky blue ribbon. And then this was the part of the channeled message that came through right in this pause of recording this. So I hope this is helpful for you to start to recognize the link that is within you. And it's not a question. It is. We all have that piece of us. And it's just such a subtlety that we learn to dismiss it and to not, and we've never really been taught what that is or how to register it. Yeah. It's not just your mind, your human mind, right? There's a big difference between those two places. Like, do we all have that human mind space? Of course. I can think about, okay, what do I want to make for dinner tonight? And am I going to stop at the grocery store on my way home or something like that? And my grandpa's not telling me that. That's coming from my human mind. But there's a space in between, isn't there? And we all have that. We all have that space there, that receptor. Is there a different word for that? Like an antenna? I don't know. Whatever you want to say. So I'm also getting a lot of things about the Wizard of Oz. Yesterday, I came out in the lobby to get one of my clients, and it was a kid, younger person, and we ended up doing a walk therapy session. So we walked for a good 45 minutes, walking, talking, and which is really nice because EMDR, if you've heard of that, is really built around bilateral movements, and walking is bilateral, right? So there's just a level of kind of integration that happens when you kind of connect talk therapy in with bilateral movements like that. But anyway, as we were doing that session, she mentions, um, she's like, "This is really nice. I'd like to do this again." I said, "Absolutely. Especially now the weather's turning warmer, we can do walking for our therapy sessions as we're doing the therapeutic elements, repeatedly in the future for sure. It's a beautiful thing. I love it too. And I can tell that it's working for you. You're at ease. More is flowing out. She's really processing things." And she goes, "And this whole sidewalk should be yellow for us. Like, follow the yellow brick road, follow the yellow brick road." I was like, it should be, shouldn't it? Right? For sure. And then last night when I got home, my daughter put on her Dorothy costume that she had from like 2 Halloweens ago. And it was after the storm, it was lightly raining. And we went outside, and the kids are standing underneath like the gutters, letting some of the water drip on their heads and just being playful in the rain, splashing puddles in the rain boots. And, we're all out there like allowing ourselves to get rained on a little bit. It wasn't pouring or anything like that. Um, and now I'm just getting all of the connection of this, as earlier when I was saying something about my grandpa channeling to me in this moment of after the storm, and you go out and it's still lightly raining and you feel that on your face, like boom. I'm just arriving to the full recognition of all of these little pieces coming together. And follow the now I'm losing the thought of that. Follow the yellow brick road, follow the little breadcrumbs, allow yourself to be led, surrender into the part of your mind that is the intuition, the divine self, instead of thinking that your human, very programmed, conscientious mind always knows better, because it's a different perspective than being intuitively guided. And when you are choosing a seat of presence and recognizing the team that works with you to guide you, that carries in a higher perspective that the human mind alone is just not capable of linking into. That is the yellow brick road. All paths lead to home, right? There's no place like home. There's no place like home. And that is coming back to full alignment and union with yourself in this kind of a way, drawing in more of that higher self energy into embodiment and living in a way that's going to lift you up higher into the more and more people that are following this yellow brick road and who are arriving home to themselves in this new earth, anchors us into an ability to realize how to bring a little bit of heaven down here, heaven on earth, right? And I think that is part of the vibration of anchoring down into new earth.